Hey, you're wide receiver Khalil Shakir, right?
I sure am, kid. Here, go long.
Whoa! You're pretty good at football, man.
And you guys are pretty good at pizza.
Oh, sick. Dude. Folks, welcome back to the most delicious pregame show in the Bills sphere. It is the Picasso's pregame show. I'm your host, Maniac. We got our friend, your friend, my friend, Jake, Micah, and else. Micah, big win again coming off for the Bills. Their second game of the year in a month. But with that said, as we've said on this show many times, nothing changes unless the Chiefs lose, and they haven't lost. So we come in kind of just holding serve again today against the Patriots.
At least yesterday wasn't some bullshit. At least it was just like a normal football game. You know, we just got to like watch it start to finish and be like, okay, they deserve to win this one. But yeah, you know what? Today is about where's the Bills mindset at? This is a Bills versus Bills situation for the last 3 weeks. Now, I know that's no disrespect to their divisional opponents across the way that they'll face, but these teams are floundering. The Bills should have their way with these teams if the Bills don't get in their own way. I have said this. I'm sure other Bills fans have shared this sentiment over the last 5 years. The team that beats the Bills the most is the Buffalo Bills, beyond any team in the NFL, even beyond the Kansas City Chiefs. The team that beats the Bills mostly is themselves. It's mentally, it's those kinds of mistakes. They could easily come into this game, win it 38-10, don't even think about it. But you and I both know there's a world where the Bills play with their food for the first half. It's like 13-10 Buffalo going into halftime, and Drake May has like 180 yards passing, and you're like, what's going on here? Something like that. So they need to just, for the next 3 weeks, finish strong, finish with authority, and go into the playoffs hitting on all cylinders, not limping in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very basic. Continue to do what you've done on offense, and I think on the defense, be more opportunistic and kind of improve in some areas there for sure. Before we get into the actual game itself, like, let's talk about it, because we got the playoff picture. It's been kind of boring to break it down all year. The Bills have either been 95% to make the playoffs, 100% to win the division now. I will say that if we pull this up, give me 1 second here. We have the playoff odds brought to our friends here at a local casino that will go nameless. But we got the Bills and the Chiefs right about at the same odds coming into today. Yeah. So again, obviously it seems like at this point, it's a foregone conclusion. The Chiefs will be able to seal that 1 seed with a month or so plus left. I think it was believable that they might be able to drop 2 games. Nobody in Bills universe felt for that Patrick Mahomes injury, by the way. So it wasn't like a surprise when he's running around 15-yard runs yesterday. But with that said, do you think these odds are about right? Should the Chiefs have a little advantage with the obvious 1 seed? What do you think of these playoff or basically AFC champion odds going into basically the end of week 16 here for the Bills?
Now, Maniac, I got to give you credit where credit's due here, as always, because you're always on it with the odds. You always have a general knowledge of where these things are at, even if you weren't looking directly at them. So I do want to ask you, I want to test you here. What were these odds like the last couple years? Like, not last year, I'm guessing, but like the year, Bills are 13-3 going into it. Where were they at in 2022 heading into the playoffs? Were they about the same?
2022 heading into the playoffs, they had that kind of iffy November where they lost to the Jets. There was some, weird situations there, but every year, Mike, they've kind of hit their stride at the end of the season, whether it was, after the Bucks loss in 2021, going down that stretch, whether it was after the Hail Murray in 2020, they found a way to kind of get on a roll going into the playoffs. So historically, at this point, I would say in 22 and 21, they were probably like in 21, if you remember, they had to beat the Patriots December 26th to basically lock in the division. So those odds were crazy extrapolated. In 2022, I want to say they were probably about 4 or 5 to 1 in this spot going into the playoffs. Obviously, everyone knew they could score, but they lost Trey White at that point, so they were a little bit. But yeah, I mean, as far as Vegas is concerned, and they do respect the Ravens at least a little bit. You see plus 340 there. But this is a 2-horse race. They've got 2 options here with multiple weeks left in the season at 2 to 1 or less. They think the Bills and the Chiefs are on a crash course. And I think with the Bills slotting into the 2nd seed, which it seems like they could do. Let's talk the playoff picture here, Mike. They they lock into the 2 seed with a win today and then a Steelers loss on Christmas Day?
Yes, believe so. I'm definitely one of my homework assignments for the night is once these games are settled this afternoon, is finding every machination out that we possibly can for the seeding purposes, because it was a big discussion we had on Pay the Bills this week. And Mike Bunt's very worried about the Bills landing against the Baltimore Ravens. I don't share as much worry about whoever the Bills land against in the playoffs. But it would be a preferable path to play the Chargers, Steelers, or Broncos than the Ravens. I think we can all agree on that. And just the way that even if the Steelers fall flat on their faces and the Ravens pass them, and the Bills under with the 2 seed, it still is a situation where it's a collision course with the Ravens. So there's going to be a lot of jockeying and positioning going on. All that being said, it's still very possible the Chiefs lose these last 2 games. And I know I've been harping this the last 5 weeks, but I also have said these are the 2 most likely spots. You can go back and listen any other time.
The Texans, you didn't have the Texans as a likely spot?
In Pittsburgh and in Denver for a team who could be playing for a playoff spot are the 2 most motivated and toughest spots to go to, especially in Pittsburgh on short rest, because that's going to be a physical game on Christmas, and then that crowd's going to be going crazy. So I'm not giving up complete hope, but I did see the odds on NBC yesterday. I think it said with the Chiefs win, it's 89% that they get the 1 seed. So it's pretty much gone, this dream at this point, but you got to keep it alive by winning today if you're Buffalo. I don't think it matters, though. I think you have to, if you got to beat Baltimore and KC to get to the championship, guys, to get to the Super Bowl, then that's what they fucking
Micah, there's no such thing as an easy Super Bowl. We're not going to look back on it and be like, oh, we're not going to look back and be like, oh, this was really well booked. Like, this is well planned out. Like, you're going to have to encounter some adversity. There's probably going to be a time during any subsequent run where there will be doubt. There will be, adversity. There will be stuff like that. So with that said, there's never doubt and adversity if you order from Picasso's Pizza, picassospizza.net. Anywhere in Western New York. We got 6 hours till kickoff. Get those orders in, folks. So that's the playoff picture. Again, like we said, it's been a little boring because there hasn't boring in a good way. That the Bills are slotted to a high seed and they've been winning. And now recently the Steelers have been stumbling, so they made it a little bit easier. Speaking of stumbling, making it a little easier, Saquon Barkley is basically out. We're back to a 2-horse race, Micah. It's Josh Allen way out in front, -700, -1,000. So a week ago, funny enough, like a week and a half ago, he was -1,000 and Lamar was like 700. Yep. So Lamar has had 2 very good games in between, but Josh Allen also had a very good game. He absolutely lit up the Lions. What was it? 400 plus yards of offense. Yeah. That let him kind of hold serve there. I think that this could be today could be the punch your ticket situation for Josh Allen. Like, I think 3 to 4 touchdowns, 200 plus yards of offense, not even 300, 200 plus yards of offense and no turnovers, I think would move him into like -1,200, -1,500, because then you're looking at the Jets, you're looking at the Patriots. There's just not going to be a lot of variability. Yeah, maybe Lamar Jackson like plays out of his mind, 5 touchdowns next week, 5 touchdowns the following week, but that would only get him down to like +200, +300 versus Josh Allen's -500. So barring any craziness, I feel like this is locked in. But what do you think based on Josh's performance today? What do you think could be some of the outcomes based on the rest of the day, since Lamar's already played, obviously?
Well, there's a lot of people pushing narratives. There's a late push for Lamar this week for sure from the suspects. A lot of suspects you would expect when we're talking about this, like
RG3.
RG3, yeah. The other day, only a former teammate of Lamar Jackson and everything is like the MVP will be just. And also, I love this.
And a host of the Netflix. Unbelievable. I forget what his comment was, but Trey Wingo
it was like the MVP will be decided on Christmas Day on Netflix or something like
that. Trey Wingo was literally like, why is that? And then there was like he said like one line where it was like 2 of the top like offenses in the league go head. And then the second line was literally 182 countries watching live. Like, that does not affect the MVP picture, RG3. I know that you feel important. I know that you want to promote your game. But the fact that you're hosting on Netflix does not make this one game any more important to the MVP picture than the rest of everything.
Nope, not in the slightest. And it's funny because it's really like it's the way this race has gone is the narrative has completely flipped from last year. The only difference is Lamar doesn't have the interceptions, right? Like Lamar's team is making a late push to potentially win the division, just beat their biggest division rival in a late game on the road to potentially position themselves to win the division, and be, maybe be a 12-5 team or whatever. And that's exactly what Allen did last year and didn't get the credit for it. So it's the same kind of thing. And also the thing about yesterday, Lamar did play well yesterday. Derrick Henry had 170 yards rushing. That's my whole crux of this argument with this. And that's the reason if last year in the MVP voting, Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy were split votes. They were third and fourth, and they split their votes, and neither of those guys got real consideration. Truly, I think that's what should be happening with Lamar and Derrick Henry this year. Derrick Henry has been neck and neck with Saquon Barkley all year, rushing wise. He was ahead of him for the first part of the year. And Saquon's got this spot up here. I really think Henry should, if we're going to give Lamar credit for an incredible play on a team, then you got to give Henry credit. And because of that, neither of them should actually win the award. Like, I think that's the biggest argument is there's not a Derrick Henry level player on the Buffalo Bills. Like, there just isn't. And somehow that just gets ignored for Lamar in this MVP race this year.
I'm looking right now. Derrick Henry's not even on here.
No, not even
like
on there.
Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has better like make that make sense, Micah.
It's
Jahmyr
crazy.
Gibbs, James Cook. Like, with all due respect, like, if anyone on the Bills, like, with all due respect and all of, and I say this honestly, if you could hit a button right now, would you trade James Cook for Derrick Henry? I know that James Cook knows the offense. I know that that's the Joe Brady Cook angle, but I think we would take Derrick Henry pretty quickly.
Bro, Derrick Henry right now, through 15 games, mind you, has 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. Last year in 17
Absurd.
games, last year he had 1,100 yards. 2 years ago, he had 1,500 yards. He's outpaced his last 2 years in Tennessee, and he has 2 games left. So can we give, like, I'm not even like trying to hate on Lamar by this. Can we give Derrick Henry some credit for this offense being as good as they are? Because he is having one of the best seasons we've seen recently from him. And he's an all-time great. So.
Oh
boy.
Morning.
What do you got? Morning.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's like Sunday. What do you mean? What do I got? I'm just here because I'm a huge draw, basically. But Drake May is not a huge draw. He's not going to have as much success today. I might hammer my life savings on Drake May to throw an interception, boys.
I think that's a great call, honestly.
Minus 155
that
over.
Might be a good one.
Over a half. I love it. I also love the Bills to score a defensive touchdown today.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, Slick thinking the Bills defense gets it done. Let's take a look at the weather report as we're suiting up. So we knew this all week coming in. Just above double digits. The wind is not going to be a factor, but I think that's a huge bonus, Slick. Typically the wind is a big encumbrance there in Orchard Park.
Yeah, I mean, the sun is out. We're actually going to get some decent weather despite the chilly temperatures. Obviously, it might be chilly, but that's what Buffalo fans are used to, and that's what the players are used to as well. Despite the cold and there not being a wind factor maniac, I think this is actually a day where Josh Allen could air it out and get a lot of receivers involved. One of those cold games. We saw it in the perfect game. Everyone thought we weren't necessarily going to be throwing the rock a bunch, just running it up the gut. And Josh had a field day when that was the case. So I like Keon to get involved, Khalil obviously, and then the running game as well. I think maybe they get Ray Davis involved with some checkdowns too. Checkdown merchant Ray Davis. Yeah, I like a few guys to find the end zone today. I think this could be a day where Josh really bolsters his MVP case. Not that he needs to, but yeah, we could see a lot of action today, Micah.
Oh yeah,
I like
my
seeing that
parlay
action.
It's going.
Yep.
I do think Allen could have upwards 250, 300 yards passing today. I don't think he's going to run the ball at all. I think they're going to save his legs and save those hits on him, which is why my parlay came into existence, because I think they're going to score a lot of points again. But I got at the very least here, Ray Davis to get 25 rushing yards. And this is James Cook here to get 60 plus rushing yards. So I feel pretty good about that plus 330. Those guys, I feel like Cook's going to be around 80 yards, something like that, 70 yards. And Ray Davis could get 25 on one run in this game, in my opinion. But I think Ray Davis is a safe bet to get like 40, 50 yards. So throw that in there, and the Bills get over 30 points, which they've.
That's like what, 8 games in a row now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 8 games in a row.
When you look at that list of teams that have done that, 30 plus games, 30 plus points in 8 plus games, I mean, those are some of like the best teams ever.
Yes.
Yeah, they were pointing out based on a points per game drive or points per drive aspect of over 3 points per drive. The Bills are an all-time offense. I mean, that's top 5 historically, right, Micah?
Yeah, and they are currently
I think
second in the NFL in points scored, I think right behind Detroit, who had a couple 50 points games this year. So this is a team that is just been lighting it up all year. I mean, even the beginning of the year, like some really good offensive performances, but whew.
So I think you can't blame us.
Burger.
You can't blame us after last week. We both hit on our props and our parlays. You had Bills and Allen, or was it Bills and Cook? I'm sorry.
It was Allen. It was
Bills and Allen, and then I had Bills and Shakir. So we're up like. Well, we're definitely hitting them with 2. You got yours as slick as is. I'm laying the wood today. Bills minus 14. Cook anytime. Shakir anytime. Dawson anytime. Give me 35-1, baby.
Oh man!
Now we're talking.
I do like Dawson.
Let's go win some money.
I also like Kincaid.
Dawson, when the weather gets cold, those home games, it's just a different Dawson. The only thing I'm worried about for Dawson is, are we going to see finally the thing we've been waiting for so long, the Dalton Kincaid breakout game?
See, that's where I was just going, because like I feel like Josh is going to want to get him one back after that pop pass got called back last week. What do you think, Micah?
True.
That's a good call. It has been something we haven't talked about enough, though, and is the play of Dawson Knox this year. After last year, everybody's like, oh man, a little shaky, especially catching the ball. And dude is like, this is the best he's looked since, like, I don't know, 2020, 2021. Like he's been sharp. It's been fun to see him as a weapon. So I think Josh definitely is feeding the tight ends today.
A lot of guys are going to be catching the ball
today. It should be good. With that said, so we're kind of winding down on the show here. I mean, predictions, it's a 14-point win, 14-point win. Knocking on thing here. It's a 14-point spread. So I think obviously we think it's going to be a little bit of a blowout. So instead of our predictions, why don't we go around the horn and say the one thing the Bills need to make sure today to avoid a crazy upset? I think that would be, so I'll start it off. You can't turn the ball over in the first half. You might be able to get away with it in the second half once you've had time to build a lead, et cetera, like that. We can't have early turnovers. Can't have James Cook, return of the fumbleitis. Can't have any of that. And we need to get ready for the playoffs, where obviously teams are going to be going after the ball more than ever. So no turnovers today. Need to protect that rock, Micah.
Yeah, don't let Jake May get any confidence. Don't let him get any easy screen passes, quick slants, like quick game. Don't play like a soft zone on him to keep everything in front of you and let him get to like 10 of 12 throwing the ball and everything, because that's what they've wanted to do. That's when he's been effective. And then with the mix of Stevenson, who's a good back, you got to get off the field. You can't let the Patriots possess the ball and shorten this game. You got to keep it up pace. Got to get past 30. If they can't score, Patriots can't get up to even like 25 points in this game. So really, you get to 30, you should win. So play with that kind of pace. Get this done within the first half. I did give my prediction on Tuesday. I said 45-7, and Carson looked at me like I was crazy, but I'm sticking with it.
Carson's like the only one on Pay the Bills that always predicts them to lose.
He's the very cynical member of the team, which I would not have expected.
Yeah,
Carson is all about. Carson's trying to recapture his literally his childhood, which was only about 6 years ago. When there was hope for the Sabres. When there was hope for the Sabres, and there was no hope for the Bills. So he's still a little bit stuck in those mentalities.
That's fair.
But it's what do you got for today? Where are you gonna be making sure is tied up today at Orchard Park?
I totally agree with you that we just can't be turning the ball over early. But I think the biggest key here is keep the defense off the field, eat the clock up, and don't lose the game in the first half, or don't let it get away from you in the first half. We've seen this reoccurring week in, week out with the Bills, where they go in, kind of take the first half a little lightly. And then we're all like, oh, we're a second half team. We have nothing to worry about. But when you go again and play against good teams, I'm not saying the Patriots are a good team, but you can't let this game get away from you in the first half, or else it's just catch up. And we don't need to be in that position this late in the season against these division rivals when we've already locked up the division. I think if you can play the first half to your ability and well, we could see Josh not even playing the second half.
Yeah, I agree.
I know I was going to say that for these last 3 games. Everyone's going to get on my case. How is he going to win MVP if he doesn't play the last 3 games second half? Because he's already got it locked up. All he needs to do is throw for like 1 or 2 in the first half, and it bolsters his case. And if we're up 2 or 3 scores going into the second half, why would you play him in a game that's 6 degrees and he could just potentially get hurt and turn this ball over a little more? So I think the key is just don't let it get away from you in the first half and eat the clock up. Keep your defense off the field. Don't let Drake May gain any confidence, just like Jake said. Bad news. But we all know how Sean McDermott plays these young quarterbacks.
That's true.
It's kind of like the new coming Bill Belichick when he would play rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And they would like be scrambled eggs in their brain going against him. That's like what McDermott is to these young quarterbacks now. So really looking forward to it. I think McDermott's going to have a solid game plan for this defense, but keep them off the field. Just eat that clock up. Don't need to do anything fancy. If you can, sure, but don't force it.
Wow, did Slick Saturday just have a great point of linking
awesome.
past Belichick to current McDermott? What's that? But real quick, before we close up the show, there was breaking news this morning for the Bills, if you saw it. Ian Rappaport confirming that Josh Allen has had a broken hand since week 1. Now, I'm not throwing shade at anything here. I just want to be clear, and I want to get you guys on the same page. We all kind of knew this, right?
No,
we knew his left hand was fucked up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the only reason he was wearing a glove. Like, he only wears a glove or something like that if he needs to. I don't understand how they get away with not having that on the injury report all year. But
yeah, what the fuck? That's kind of sketchy.
Probably get a fine from the league or something.
Because Maniac, I would joke about this week in, week out. I'd be like, oh, he's got a glove on. He's not okay. Because that's what everyone was saying. But if dude actually has had a broken hand since week 1, I mean, just give him the MVP right now.
Yeah. And now it's healed. That's the thing. Supposedly fully healed now. So he's just ready to roll for the playoffs.
What a dog, awesome. Bro. Oh, my God.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's face it, that plays into the running, that plays into the piles, everything like that. So that's a big aspect. But make sure you're not piling up. Get those orders into Picasso's Pizza anywhere in Western New York, picassospizza.net. Anywhere in the nation, get gold in your belly via @GoldBelly. With that said, any final thoughts here, boys?
My final thoughts are Bills by 4 scores today.
All right. Well, I guess with that said, what more is there to say besides...
Let's go Bills.